joining us on the stream, you can join us live for conversation by going to hackingtheinfinitymatrix.com/rabbit hole and just register with Zoom and you'll get the link. Hello,
Hey,
Brody.
Bree.
Welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
And our conversation today, there's no structure per se. It's just we'll start with something and just kind of have a chat session about it and see where things go. We're just gonna let the conversation evolve naturally and organically, and we will be looking for comments as well. So that includes you, Bree, too. So if you want to do audio or if you want to do chat, there we go. And there's Jean coming back in. And we do have a bunch of people registered, so we'll see if people do come in. I'll just kind of jump to them. And
There she is.
Hey, Jean.
Hey, Jean.
Hi.
All right.
It's 11 p.m. in Kuala Lumpur now.
Wow.
Time to sleep.
Yes, well, you're gonna stimulate your brain right before bed.
Yeah, exactly. See, how can we manipulate your dreams? What can we do?
All right. So, Jean, since you were on last week, why don't you tell us what it, and actually anybody who's listening and here, including in the chats, I'm gonna make sure I have the.
But last week we couldn't get the ones that you sent. You sent the email on the, the various things that you say you wanted to send, but I couldn't go in.
Yeah, I'll have to send you a different link. That was for the masterclass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the masterclass, I the PDF. I saw your email and I didn't get a chance to. I'm going to put it somewhere else and give you a different link for it.
Take your time, no hurry.
Yeah, and then I'll get that to you later.
Every day, so much to do, and so much to read. So.
All right. Okay, Ross, you want to talk about something specific, right?
Well, so actually I thought we would talk about your favorite subject, which is the holographic universe.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of them for sure, yeah.
And looking at, the world within a 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 world. And I'm gonna let you take this because this is you know so much more about this than I do.
Well, I mean,
subject.
So the holographic universe is really a concept, and holographic, I forget what the other terminology they use is, got a mind blank, but it's more of author named Michael Talbot kind of brought to the forefront years ago. Trying to think of when. I would say I got introduced to the holographic universe in probably the 2000s, I think, maybe late 90s is when I kind of, but it's been around for a while. And
the 70s, if I remember right.
Yeah, and it's it's bringing ancient mysticism and tying it with quantum mechanics, and really kind of takes this concept of a hologram where if you understand, and I don't want to go to the technology of a hologram because it's kind of boring stuff, but the idea is that if you were to take an element from a hologram, take one piece of an hologram and go into it deep enough that you would see the pattern of the entire hologram within that component, right? So if so it's really that we're all connected. We're all there's no real difference from one thing to another, and certain patterns you'll see in all different areas, And so really it's about looking at, for me, it's about looking at, okay, what are the patterns that if you see them in one area, how can you take that pattern, whether it's from nature or whether you are looking what human beings are doing, and you break it down to its base elements, how those base framework elements can be utilized in other areas. And if we're talking about hacking the infinity matrix, it's understanding that if we're giving you a hack, excuse me, if we're giving you a hack, then it's a pattern that we've seen throughout different areas that can be duplicated and utilized for anybody, right?
Before you
And in many more situations as well.
wait, before you go further, can you explain what is a holograph?
So a
Define.
hologram is a three-dimensional representation that's created from something that's two-dimensional. And so again, you have a two-dimensional image, and again, without having the graphics to show you, it's kind of challenging. But you ever see, like oh, hold on, someone popping in here, Maria.
Gene, on your a credit card, you have that silver image. Sometimes it's a bird, sometimes it's a planet, and it moves when the light hits it. That's a hologram.
I see. Okay.
So no matter how you look at it, it has shape, but it's still a two-dimensional object.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the basic, well, not basic, because it takes the technology to do it, but to the point where you can have a hologram where it's actually this, it looks like this three-dimensional thing right in front of you, but you can put your hand right through it. Mm-hmm. Right? The maybe the popularization of it, and maybe even where they kind of got the concept is in like Star Trek, where they have the holodeck. It's a hologram that these virtual things are created, in the space where you think they're real, they feel real, they look real, they're three-dimensional, you can interact with them, but then you turn a switch and they're gone. Right? Yeah. Right? And so the way a hologram is created is you have this two-dimensional image, and you shoot certain lasers on different angles, and as the light goes through that one dimension, so that two-dimensional image, it then projects out into a three-dimensional form. Okay, and thanks.
I like it.
And the concept or the idea with the holographic universe is that we are all living in a hologram. We are holograms ourselves, where where we are in this place where it's that somewhere some light's being shone on something, and we are a result of that. And I mean, the book goes into a lot of detail around it, and I mean, it's definitely a really good, thought-provoking book that if you get a chance to pick it up, it's Michael Halbert, and it's called The Holographic Universe.
Gary, I was just looking up, that book actually came out in the early 90s.
Yeah, and I think I got exposed to it in 99, 98, around there.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit earlier, from what I remember. But yeah, but the concept of the holographic universe has been thrown around with scientists for probably a couple of decades before that.
Right. And then now that is also kind of transmuted into, the universe is a simulation, and they're starting to meld these two theories together. Simulation being that it's like a video game, and we are all just simply playing roles, and that's gotten a lot of notoriety from Elon Musk.
Yeah, and you know, which also falls in alignment with where the Matrix takes it all, right? So,
Correct.
you know, in the movie The Matrix, when Neo and Morpheus go into this white space, right, where there's nothing around, and all of a sudden things show up, he's demonstrating that this virtual reality is what we live in, right? And if we learn how to tap into it, we can start to access the different powers and resources within it. And so that's kind of where it all kind of unfolds from,
Mm.
right?
So do you know how to tap in, Gary? Do you know how to tap into this virtual reality?
Well, I mean, the idea is that you know, it's a theory, right? I mean, there's we really, the evidence we have that we are living in a simulation or a matrix or a hologram, um, it's increasing to show that that's, oh, I got someone else coming in, 1 second, Darcy. It's increasing to show that that is a high probability that that's where we live in. And so when you look at the evidence we have, mystics and the teachers out there, it's I mean, there's thoughts around, hey, it's getting into that now moment. That's when you have most access. It's getting to that where you're getting rid of the noise of the world that distracts you. When you're getting into what they call the Akashic records, when you're getting into what we call the choice convergence point. In those places, you get to this place of possibility, right? And in this place of possibility, when you're in there, when you know you're there, then you can choose which code, which hologram, which reality you want to step into and move towards. So when we're talking about the different hacks that we give on the streams, or in the masterclass, or in the 7-day program, these are all things that help you to tap into this holographic so that you can start to create your own hologram experience for yourself, right? Hey, Darcy, I did mute you, so if you want to jump in anytime, just unmute, because there was some background noise, just so, yeah. But you're welcome to join in at any time, and also by chat as well, right? Let me just open that up in case anyone is doing that. So yeah, so I think, you know, it's the holographic Universe is a really, really cool book, again, which talks about these three-dimensional images that are projected into space, you know, with laser, and that's the world that we're kind of living in, right?
And then you
And
could think of the projector as being, you know, could be your deity, your God, your, you know, the puppet master. Um, there's so many different theories, you know, from way before the holographic theory came about, you know, of what is actually out there, and how are we being controlled, if we are being controlled. You know, do we really have free will? I mean, Socrates talked about free will, and that you know, he didn't believe that we had free will. So all of these are just simply theories, because no one's been able to prove anything. But at the same time, when you start to really delve into some of them, you know, they can kind of hold up. They kind of start to resonate with you a little bit. And what I've noticed as I look at the different theories, because this just fascinates me as well, is that, you know, there this theory is, you know, for example, the simulation theory is really, really, really held up by the tech people. You know, so they're just like, well, you know, these video games that we're creating, this is like the world around us now. So, you know, that means that somebody else has created us as a video game. And it's like, well, okay, you know, but if you see somebody who's not really in the tech industry, they're kind of like, well, you know, yeah, sure, whatever you think. So each theory is held up by somebody in a particular industry or a particular thought or belief system. And so you have to kind of take it for what it is. I mean, just because somebody famous or successful or whatever the case may be says it, it may be true for him or her because it works in their way of thinking. So, and that's when that's why this subject fascinated me. I kind of brought it up as the idea of for today, simply because they're all belief systems, just like anything else. They're belief systems. And because they're not proof systems yet. And
However, you have moments where, when you do something and your reality shifts based on your intention, based on something you do,
right.
you kind of go, well,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Or you have these glitches in experience that make you question what reality is, or what we're being told reality is. They make you go, well, maybe there is something to that, because you can start to see how that concept or those ideas of simulation or holograph or matrix or whatever, how that, it's like, yeah, I could see how that is in alignment with that theory or those concepts. And the more you do that, the more you start to question that, maybe we are in this game, and how do you know, right? And when you do different types of meditation, or even teacher plants, or get into altered states, you can start to get more of that being a possible reality, right? A convincingly possible reality. Okay. And it's a matter of, okay, well, if that's the case, how do we take that experience of knowing that, but still functioning within this three-dimensional hologram that we all collectively agree is a type of reality? And then how do we take that experience or understanding, insight, wisdom, and utilize that to apply it to this three-dimensional, so that it gets more dynamic for what we choose, so that it gets more in alignment with the vibration at our core of our spiritual evolving life force, right? And they really, that's what we can, week after week, try to bring to the table, so people start to get into questioning their lack of control of their reality, because a lot of people feel that they don't have control of their reality. A lot of people feel that they just gotta go along with things, they gotta comply, they gotta follow the sheep, they gotta do. I mean, we see it all the time, right? And they don't question things, and they don't believe in their self-powerment. They don't all those elements that we talk about on the live streams, and the hacks that we give are to kind of poke holes in that reality framework that you've created for yourself, if it's not working for you. And if it is working for you, we want to poke holes so that it becomes even bigger, more radiant, and more in alignment with your vibration.
Exactly.
Right. And there's a lot of different things. There's another really good book, which we should, I don't think I have it in this library, but we should, when you really want to kind of test out along with our hacks, a really good book, Pam Grout, E Squared.
Right. Mm-hmm.
She's awesome. I love her. I like her writing style and her conversational style, the way she writes, and her humor, and the simplicity in which she breaks things down, and the you know, the no BS way of coming across things. So I really like the stuff she does. But it's called E Squared, and there's 9 experiments she gives you throughout the book that the thought experiments, which essentially is what our hacks are, right? They're experiments that you do where you do them and you notice if you get results, if things happen, if things shift. And one simple one, which you guys can all do, and it's a fun one. I mean, what does it do ultimately in the grand scheme of the matrix? It teaches you that you have some control, if nothing else. But it's a simple one that she teaches, and it's where what you should do is set the intention, right, for the next 24 hours, something specific to happen. So what she says, well, you know, do something that you know, pick a car color that is not common, and say to yourself, to the universe, hey, universe, in the next 24 hours, I want to see a car that is turquoise. And you put that intention out there for the next 24 hours. For the next 24 hours, some way, shape, or form, I want to see a car that has the color of turquoise or is the color of turquoise out there. And you put that intention out there and just let it go. And then notice what happens in the next 24 hours. And you'll be blown away by the amount of people that report to her and stuff like that happens. I do it all the time. I play the game with my kids. I'm like, okay, let's put the intention out there. What's the color to yellow? Okay, all right. Well, give me a more unique. Okay, pink. Okay, all right. Well, something with some kind of polka dots. And it doesn't have to be even a car we drive by. It could be something we're flipping through a book or a magazine, and it just kind of pops up. But we open up our reticular activating system for that for the next 24 hours, right? And you start to see how it happens. One of the other experiments she did, and I'll share this story, and this is, again, how you, I mean, there's so many different experiences that I can pull from, but this one here is a fun one. And trying to think back, it was probably where are we at, 2001? So yeah, I would say about 5-6 years ago, and I should probably track when it was, but about 5-6 years ago. I was actively pursuing looking at reconnecting with a daughter of mine that her mom and I had kind of gone our ways when we were younger, and I couldn't get a hold of them. I couldn't find them, right? And then I'd found out that you know, she had a baby, but I couldn't get a hold of her. Tried for years and years and years. Then eventually I did. We connected up. The power of Facebook, right? I mean, again, the synchronicities that led up to this, I'm not even sharing because there's a whole bunch of them as well. And then Brittany and I, you know, we had been talking. We had met at this time, you know, because you know, I saw her when she was really young, and then there was a big gap, a window of time when we didn't see each other. We're not in each other's lives. And then and so we reconnected, and she lived in another city. So I'm in just outside Vancouver, Canada. She was in Edmonton, Alberta. So, you know, we're 2 different provinces away. And we both got just busy, caught up in life stuff, and hadn't really, you know, been back and forth as we had been. And so a year had passed by. And I'm like, oh my God, a year, holy cows. And at this time I was listening to Pam's book, and she was at the section where she was talking about this experiment, and the experiment was to put out to the universe that someone from your past would connect with you in the next 48 hours. And I can't remember the exact specifics how she went through the exercise, but I did it and just put it out there. And it was like 46 hours. I get a Facebook message pops up, and it's Brittany. I'm like, whoa. She sends me a message. She's like, hey, do you know such and such, something about she asked me something about the city that was close, is like close to where I live. It was maybe about 20 minutes away from where I live, right? She was asking me some question about that area. And I said, "Whoa, oh my God, I was just thinking about you," and started chats, right? And it turns out that she actually had moved from Edmonton to Abbotsford, which at the time was 20 minutes away from where I lived, right? And had been there for a few months with her fiance, now her husband, and she was going to university there. She had transferred from Edmonton to the university just in Fraser Valley here, and she was like 20 minutes. I'm like, 20 minutes, Brittany, what the heck? You know, but again, you know, if you know, we get caught up in our lives, and sometimes those things happen. And again, at the time, we weren't actively in each other's life. We were just kind of rebuilding or building a relationship in that. So within 48 hours, something I hadn't spoken for a year reaches out to me after I put that thought intention out there. That makes you start to question, okay.
Gary, you kind of, you're freezing up here a little bit.
Okay.
So
where did I freeze up at?
We lost you at, you finally connected.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, we had connected up, just, again, it was because we hadn't seen each other or spoken with each other or chat or text, like no contact for about a year. And then all of a sudden doing this intention experiment within 48 hours to have that kind of a result starts to make you go, well, you know, I mean, of all the timing, right, of when that could have happened, for 365 plus days prior to that, she didn't reach out. She had been in the area 20 minutes away from me for a few months, and then I put the thought intention out, and this happens, right? Exactly. And so it's a good way for you to start to poke holes in what we think is reality. And that was an intentional thought process that I put out there, whether it was for the car or whether for Brittany or for when it wasn't even for Brittany, it wasn't for her specifically. I had been thinking about her. I didn't have intentions of it being, I just thought, let me put it out there. Let me see this experiment, who shows up, right? Because I've done it again with different, you know, the same exercise, and other people from my past, old buddies, you know, show up on my Facebook stream, which I hadn't seen before, or I come across something that someone shared about something, and I'm like, whoa, right? So the synchronicities start to happen, make you start to wonder, well, who's creating this reality then? Right, and how much control do we have over it? And the bigger question, who's controlling it when I'm not consciously doing it? And so the Infinity Matrix and what we're teaching in there is so that people start to have more control, start to realize that they can on an active day-to-day basis. The Infinity process that Ross and I created and teach in the 7-day process, in the art of designing your reality, you know, it's about getting to that place where you can moment by moment, by choice, choose what your reality starts to show up for you as on an ongoing basis.
I like to take quantum physics into a lot of this. You know, when Dr. Lipton talks about when they did the the experiment with some blood, it took blood from the same donor, put him in a container, okay, and then this one they sent 13 miles away. And then they had this one in their lab, and the one that was 13 miles away was in another lab. And then they had timers, you know, all synced up. And so the first one in the main lab, we'll call this one A, and then the one 13 miles away is B. They would stimulate that blood. Okay, they with electricity or whatever the case. They would kind of do something shocking to it, you know. So let's say they put a little bit of electricity into it, and the blood biologically would react at the exact same time, not a nanosecond later or anything like that. The other blood 13 miles away reacted in the exact same way.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does this tell you? It tells you that they were still connected at a level that is, well, basically at a quantum level. So this is called entanglement. Entanglement is if you take an atom and do the exact same thing, you stimulate that atom. You take an atom and you split it, and then you take the other half and you send it away. You stimulate that atom, the other one will react exactly the same way. And so this is called quantum entanglement. And when we talk about what Gary's talking about, is that, you know, we're all entangled together. We were sourced from the same material. Okay. So if you want to use the Big Bang or whatever the case may be, we ultimately all came from the initial same raw material, which means that we're entangled, which means that our consciousness is entangled with other people's consciousness. And we've talked about this a lot of the live streams as well. And so, but what Gary and I are trying to show everybody is that not only can you connect with other people the way that he's describing, like with his daughter and such, is that you can also connect with the matter in the material around you. And we don't know this. Most people don't realize this. We don't understand this, you know, or, you know, we can go into some of the, you know, that knowledge is only kept for a certain few. Because this knowledge has been around for eons.
Yeah, just
Absolutely.
in different formats, for sure. Yeah,
just in different formats.
Yeah. You know, another as you're talking about that too, Ross, is that, you know, another one to think about too is if you guys have ever come across any Rupert Sheldrake stuff.
Yes.
He talks about morphic resonance, which is a similar thing.
Yeah, or Lynn McTaggart in The Field.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, if with Sheldrake stuff,